Welcome to FNF Victory Road Team Analysis. In this series, I'm going to be analyzing different teams, just going over the Pokemon choices, the battle record, and having a discussion with the coach of the team. Some of them won't be direct discussions in voice chat. Some of them will be via DM, and then I'll be talking about the answers. But in this particular team analysis, it will be a voice chat, and I have the pleasure of talking with Sir Roland, who led the Bayside Divers. So he is with me here today. If you want to go ahead and say hi.
Hi, y'all.
He had to add the y'all because he's from Texas, so that's how you know. All right, we're both Heat lovers. We love the Heat. Floridian and Texas agreement. All right, so we're gonna jump right into this, and actually, I wanted to ask you why you chose the name the Bayside Divers.
So, in the original draft league, I picked the Maritime Lucarios because the college I go to is called Maine Maritime, and my favorite Pokemon is Lucario. But I kind of wanted to mix it up a little bit, and aviation just kind of seemed like a cool theme to go off of, and the logo that I picked, I copied off of a World War II dive bomber. And I'm technically right on Penobscot Bay. So it's again with the whole maritime theme where I'm right by the bay and a Douglas bomber. So why not just do the Bayside Divers?
That's cool. I like it. I like that background. And I like how it matches your team, because about a third of your team kind of fit that theme right off the bat, at least in the beginning. I have the initial team up here with 3 flying types, and then you also had Latias, which is basically very, very airplane-esque. So I thought that was pretty cool. In terms of the initial team, with that drafting process, what were some of your thoughts when you were drafting? Did you have a particular team archetype that you had in mind? What were some of the thoughts going through your head?
So, I'm a very old school Pokemon player. My favorite Pokemon game is Pokemon Platinum, closely followed by Diamond Pearl and then Emerald. So I was going for a more old school team. Specifically the team that I used to beat Cynthia for the first time, which actually half of that team is what I drafted. That would be Staraptor, Gardevoir, and Luxray were the 3 that were on my team the first time I beat Cynthia. So those were my first 3 targets. And then the rest of them were type coverage. Blastoise was the water type that I picked. Fortunately, never used it. I only ever used a water type once in the entirety of the draft league. But with Mega Tyranitar, with Latias, with Frostlass, I kind of figured that I had enough of that type coverage in there, and even with Gardevoir, Staraptor, and Luxray, I figured that my type coverage was good enough to where I didn't necessarily need one of the 3 basic types, which Roserade, Ninetales, and Blastoise covered. But if I needed them just in case, I always can pick and choose from other Pokemon that I had.
Okay, so from what you said, and also from what I'm looking at, this is also a very Gen 4 love team, which definitely goes with what you said earlier about being more of an old school fan. This feels very Diamond Pearl Platinum, and I like that because it's one of the best gens in my opinion. Top contender for the best gen. For me, it's Gen 5, but Gen 4 is really up there for me as well. And of course, we're listening to Route 209 right now. Well, I don't know if it's playing for you, but it's playing for me.
It's been playing in my head for the last week.
Well, there you have it. What was the reason you gave Staraptor and Gardevoir the Z Crystal abilities?
So Gardevoir, obviously the way I set Gardevoir up was I wanted I wanted it to have Brave Bird because that's its best move, pretty much. And
you mean Staraptor?
Having never played Gen 7, I didn't quite know how Z Crystals worked, but I figured that if there was any move that could be any stronger and be any more fear-inducing, it would probably be Brave Bird. So I gave it the Flyinium Z Crystal. And then with Gardevoir, I actually gave it 2 Psychic-type moves at the start because I figured, Stab would be really good to have, and I forgot all about type coverage within Pokemon. So I gave it 2 Psychic-type moves, and I gave it the Psychinium Z Crystal. And, the reasoning for that was Gardevoir is my second favorite Pokemon behind Lucario, and I figured that, if I make it really strong, it'll be really useful because its special attack is really, really good. And with a special psychic move, that makes it really, really, really good. And that was basically my thought process behind that.
Okay, and it's also good that you had a physical attacker and a special attacker, so you had both bases covered. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, are there any other thoughts that you had when you were initially drafting? Were there any Pokemon that were taken that you were kind of sad about when you were drafting at first?
Lucario.
Yeah, I figured since you said it was your favorite.
Yeah, but aside from Lucario, I was really happy with how my team came out because I know most of the other members of the draft league can't say this, but I really only got sniped a half a time, and that was with Lucario. But even at the time, it wasn't the Pokemon that I actually wanted. I think right around when Lucario got drafted was when I was drafting either Staraptor or Luxray, which I wanted those 2 more than I wanted Lucario, because I think at the time I already had Skarmory, and I wasn't focused so much on fighting. I was focused more on Steel type because it resists Fairy types. Or I believe it's actually immune to Fairy types.
It resists Fairy.
Resists, okay.
Yeah.
And again, having never played after Gen 5, I was feverishly looking up how to fight against them, and I saw that Steel type was the way to go. Or I figured Steel type was the way to go, so I just drafted Skarmory instead.
Yeah, Skarmory is actually really good too, so that was a smart decision, I think, going for Skarmory. And then the elephant in the room, not to.
Oh boy, there's a story behind this one.
So explain.
So, in the Sheik character Discord, there is a wonderful person whose account name is Natu. Or in Sheik Court, actually, his nickname is Cuckoo Clock Natu. Because every single day, he would say good morning. And every person that was active in that Discord, so all 6 of them, would say good morning back. Sad as it is to say, it's true. I still love Sheik Court. A lot of great stuff. So, it kind of just became a running joke because Natu wouldn't say good morning in just one character Discord. It was every character chord that they were a part of. So it kind of became a running joke that Natu always says good morning. And that kind of carried over into the draft league. And so I believe it was actually you.
Yeah.
Who half dared me that I wouldn't draft Natu, and then I went and drafted Natu. Being fully serious about it too.
It was me. Honestly, I didn't completely think you wouldn't do it, but I thought, he's probably not going to do it. And then you did it, and I was like, wow, this is a king right here. But to be completely honest, Natu, aside from being very passive, can be very useful in setting up screens. And that's what I really like about it, actually. And it has magic bounce. So it's actually kind of a sleeper pick, in my opinion.
It's underrated, I'll say that.
Yes, it's underrated. Well, with that explained, I think we have a good idea of your initial team, and there will be some changes to your team that we're going to be discussing later. I think those changes were actually really good for your team, because after that, you actually had some of your really strongest performances. So So let's move on and look at the overall battle record. So the overall battle record I do have now displayed on the screen, and I just wanted to ask, overall, trend-wise, how do you think your journey through this league was?
Holy crap. Once I actually learned that you can't just stack up attack moves on Pokemon, and when I had help from both you and Emberhoof about how to team build, it really turned around, and it showed, because I think against Startoad, I don't think I would have won per se, but it definitely would have been closer than how it was. The same thing going with my very first match. All three of those didn't exactly go well because I really had no idea what I was doing. But then after that, I had 3 really good matches, I think, including my one and only win, which I have had the power of RNGesus on my side, and half just kind of had moves that worked. And then my very last match it just blew my expectations out of the water, because I wanted to make sure all the Pokemon that I still had, that I hadn't used, got to see some playing time, kind of like a sportsmanship thing. And that almost brought me a win, which was really surprising. But I mean, before that last match, I had 3. I played, you and Colin, and y'all's teams were incredibly good. And the fact that I didn't get 6-0'd, I kind of attribute to not letting myself get too far behind on Volcarona and Mega Lopunny, respectively. Because, holy crap, those two are scary.
Yeah, they're powerhouses, that's for sure. I definitely do see that trend of, you said in the beginning you didn't really know what you were doing, and I think as you went on, you did learn, and you did sort of fall into your team, especially after your exchanges. But if you look at the trend, the differential loss gradually gets better for you up until that win, and then you faced Volcarona and Mega Lopunny, which of course are very tough. But then even in that last battle, you see, like, you weren't getting shut out. You were having these closer matches, which definitely shows the growth that you had, I think, during the league. So we'll go into these matches individually. We'll just have some quick thoughts with each one. We'll start with the battle versus Canopy Defenders. This is Edgar's team, and this was your very first battle. So in this one, I think Umbreon, once it set up enough curses, it was undefeatable. It
didn't quite go. I mean, it went as I expected it to, for the most part, and for the rest of it went way worse than I expected it to. But yeah, I think the way I built my team kind of spoke for itself, in that I was just trying to go out there with the same strategy I had in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, and just pummel Edgar with attacks, which really didn't work at all. And with the way I set up my team, I had never actually really used Skarmory before in the games, so it was kind of tricky for me to use it. And then the same with Natu, I hadn't really set it up optimally, and with Absol as well. Having that Dark type with the Psychic type, usually I would call that a day and say that's good, but kind of hit the fan once I believe Umbreon got up to numbers in the 4s as far as stat boosts.
Yeah, it was 4, I think.
So, yeah.
Well,
I kind of laughed after that one, because it was first battle, just needed to get it out of the way, get my footing.
Yeah, and it was a learning experience. There was no other 6-0, so this was very much okay, let's get into this and see what this league entails. So, with that said, you move into fighting Rio Grande Rapidash's Emberhoof's team, and in this one in particular, so in the last one versus Edgar, Umbreon was kind of like that wall that was very hard to take down. And this one, I think Alomomola was actually the wall that you had the most trouble with, because even though in the KD it only has 1-1, rewatching the battle, it was always coming in and taking hits and then healing everyone else and doing things like that. So
yeah, it was just enough of a stall to where I couldn't do anything with it, but at the same time it set up Ember's team well enough to where I just had a lot of trouble with it. And looking back on it now, I do remember when Yeet got its first KO, but again, it was part of that period where I was like, let me just try to get my footing, find a team that works, and then try to maximize their firepower. And I mean, I probably could have set it up way better than I did. I don't think at the time I had much in the way of type coverage within my Pokemon, which was, if I'm not mistaken, which was part of why I had such a hard time dealing with Alomomola.
Yeah, at least though you did take it down.
Thank goodness. It's always the brick walls did get taken down eventually, but it was just while they were a brick wall, everything hit the fan.
Yeah, Alomomola, it's a tough one. I didn't actually face Emberhoof, but that was one of the ones that I was a little anxious about. I'm like, oh gosh, if Alomomola comes when I have to face him, it's gonna be tough. Alright, so we're moving on to the next one. This is Detroit Dunsparces, and this is Startoad's team. So Galvantula seems to be the hard one in this battle.
I remember that was a shocker to me, because I was like, Mega Swampert's going to be a big issue because Luxray is not going to be able to do much against it, because it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's water ground.
Yeah.
And there is that super effectiveness against water and then the complete immunity to electricity because of ground. So I figured that's going to be an issue. I'm going to need to do something about it. I believe that's why I brought Frostlass in. But then Galvantula just took me by complete surprise. I believe because... Actually, I do not quite remember why, but I do remember it was a huge surprise. And for that reason, Galvantula just mostly swept my team.
Well, looking at it now, it actually has a really good typing versus the team you brought, because Bug beats Latias, Bug beats Mega Tyranitar, and Electric beats Staraptor. So
I forgot about that dark type. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so with those things combined, it makes sense why it did so well.
Now I see.
But this is kind of the last battle before you got into more of a groove. And that groove, I think, is represented with this next battle coming up, Grand Island Jolteons, which is Quasimodo's team. This is after Napkin passed it on to Quasimodo. Mm-hmm. And you managed to bridge that gap a little bit more, and
oh man,
you also, this is the rise of Sparky.
Oh my god, I remember I watched this replay right before this.
This is where Sparky shined.
Luxray tear through half of the team. I was like, oh my god, what is going on? And then it just kept going, and I was so surprised because I remember I opened with Frostlass because I was trying so hard to get Destiny Bond.
Yeah, on Lucario.
I finally got it on Lucario. And then Luxray happened, because I found out that you can get the 3 Fangs, Fire Fang, Ice Fang, and Thunder Fang, and then you go with Guts, Flame Orb, Facade. Oh my god, why is this Pokemon so strong?
Yeah, I think this was the first time you ran Flame Orb on Luxray, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that
Before that, I had Rivalry, actually.
yeah, that really changed things for you. I think when you went with the Flame Orb strategy, that really turned things around. And this isn't the first time we'll see Luxray getting a lot of kills, that's for sure.
Oh, no.
So overall, really a really good one, and this is the start of your momentum, I think. And then moving forward, so after this battle, you traded Blastoise for Lapras. What was the reasoning behind that?
So, Blastoise is straight water type. Lapras is water ice, and you might be thinking, wait, but you already have Frostlass. That's another ice. The thing I like about Lapras is that it's way more of an HP tank, and it's also my favorite water type Pokemon. So a lot of my team is built around what are my favorite Pokemon of each type. And I actually have those like Psychic, Fairy, that's Gardevoir, Grass, it's actually Roserade, Electric, Luxray, Water and Ice, Lapras, and Fire as well with Ninetales. So that was my reasoning behind Lapras.
Lapras too also has some interesting tricks up its sleeve. I love that Lapras gets Thunderbolt. That's really cool.
I did put that on there. I did put it on Lapras when I ran him in the last game. That was kind of a goofy one because I was like, why are you putting an electric move on a water type Pokemon? It just makes too much sense.
It really helps in the one-on-ones between other water types for sure. So,
and I believe it also gets water absorbed too.
Yeah. So it's really good versus other waters. Next battle we have Butcher Blisseys, and this was another close one. This one actually, when I watched it, you guys were pretty much trading hits back and forth. There wasn't really a lot of stalling or defensive play. Like, you both went for the offensive.
I remember because I see that I've got a large disparity between who got KOs and who didn't on my team.
Yeah.
Because, 4 Pokemon had a KO on my team, and 3 on his, and 3 on the other team had KOs, which that's a very even disparity.
Yeah.
For me. So I do remember that was just bam, 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 bam. That was a fun one. It was close, but it was quick.
Yeah, that's exactly the sentiment I heard from Fingered Witch from Butcher Blisseys. It was a very fun battle because it was so fast paced. And yeah, lots of trading moves between each other, back and forth. So this one was a fast paced one, and one of your good performances, I think. And speaking of good performances, which we'll see soon, we had 3 trades that I think were really pivotal for you.
This was an interesting one because I remember I had to strategize how do I keep my points without completely screwing up my roster. And this was actually where I get my Fighting Steel type from, because I figured, okay, I could probably get the same strategy I get with Lucario with Cobalion, because they're the same type. The Fighting Steel for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Except, Cobalion has a bit different of a moveset, which I did end up utilizing in that next match. And then getting rid of Yeet for just Little Yeet, as I would call him. Switching from Mega Tyranitar to Mega Gardevoir. To me, it was an interesting decision because I kind of wanted to just see how it would pan out, having my Mega type switching from a super heavy physical hitter to a super heavy special hitter. And honestly, I think it worked okay.
Yeah.
Because I know I didn't include Tyranitar in that match because I really didn't want to. Because it's not as strong. It's still really strong on its own, but it's not as strong as it was as a Mega. But I figured having a very strong Psychic Fairy, especially a strong Fairy type, with Pixelate, because I can now have way stronger moves like Hyper Voice that go from being normal type to Fairy type, having that same type, that stab bonus, and it works out pretty well.
Yeah, I think I think these trades really paid off for you. I think you fell into your team groove more after this, and after these trades, you actually had some of your best performances.
I definitely think so.
So that was really smart, and it was interesting too, seeing how Yeet became Lily, and then you had Gardevoir level up into Mega Gardevoir. That was really interesting. That was kind of like the Hail Mary that paid off.
I think it was good for me.
Yeah, and so we'll actually move into the next match versus the Murican Braviarys, and this one showcased how it paid off, where you had a lot more. I think you were a lot more comfortable using your team.
I was. I mean, and the funny thing is that Luxray didn't even have. I watched the replay of this because I figured I'd want to talk about it, and I noticed, and it reflects it here. Staraptor had more KOs than Luxray did, which I looked back on it and I was a bit surprised because I'm not going to say I wasted my Z move, but I think I wasted my Z move.
Versus Empoleon, right?
I hit Empoleon with a flying type Z move, which that wasn't smart. But I also kind of wasn't expecting it. But towards the end of the battle, throughout the entire battle, I got extremely lucky because I hit numerous critical hits. I got Chansey to freeze on an Ice Fang, which was incredible. The only thing I couldn't do was get Facade to critical hit when I needed it to, but I'll take what I could get.
Yeah. It's funny because I did the interview video with Noob Scrub, and match after match it was like, yeah, this was bad luck, and this was bad luck, and this was bad luck. So part of me is wondering, was RNGesus on your side, or was it that RNGesus was against Noob Scrub, or maybe both?
Just say that it definitely could have been against him, but I mean, if it was against him, I think he probably would have had a lot more misses. Just by the nature of how Pokemon works. I know that's how I was the second to last time I battled Cynthia. I remember this vividly because I got critical hitted. I had about 5 crits against me all at once.
Oh, wow.
And then most of my moves missed. So I felt the same thing happened to him, where I just kept getting crits all the time. And stuff he had would miss, or there'd be immunity to it.
But
which I think that really helped a lot.
Staraptor did do very well here, Luxray and Cobalion too, so this is a very strong performance, and definitely I think one of your best battles. Moving on, we actually have the match versus me, Mystical Shane.
Yep. So, yeah, Volcarona kind of squashed my hopes and dreams. That was to be expected once it got the first Quiver Dance off, because it was just, you're up, you're gone, you're up, you're gone, you're up, you're gone. It kind of just kept going like that.
Yeah.
I didn't really account for it. I think this would have been a better time to bring in Lapras, just because it's an HP tank and it has water type moves, which that really would have helped a lot.
Yeah, I agree. This one I actually approached very offensively. I didn't go for my standard defensive because, I don't know. I really wanted Volcarona to get more kills, so I was building my team around Volcarona. But you did manage to take it down. So
I was happy about that. With Mega Gardevoir, no less.
Yeah, the trade did pay off, because I don't know if Mega Tyranitar would have been able to, because Bug Buzz actually hits it super effectively versus Mega Gardevoir, who's hit neutrally. So definitely a good trade there. We move on to the next match, which is versus the Elemental Dragons. And
anything familiar about this?
Looks like Sparky got those kills once again.
I I think at that point, it's just a common theme that I could count on Luxray to at least not let me get shut out. Because, I mean, you look at Beedrill, that bug type really would kill my team, because I never really figured out against bug types very well. Not quite sure why, but I do believe I was trying to set up a Destiny bond, and I mean, at that point you just kind of figure it out. They're like, oh, they're going to go for a Destiny bond.
Yeah.
Let's try not to do that. Because Frostless actually outspeeds a lot of Pokemon. It's got an underrated speed stat.
Yeah, it's really fast.
But, I mean, nothing's really going to be as fast as, like, Mega Beedrill. Because Mega Beedrill is very, very fast.
Yeah, that thing, I forgot how fast it was until I saw when I think I was helping someone team build versus Elemental Dragons, and I was like, wait, it's that fast? Wow.
I basically wanted to plan against it like I would plan against Ninjask. Except I never really knew how to plan against Ninjask, so I just put together the team I was comfortable with.
Well, Luxray did do well.
Luxray did what it needed to, though.
Yeah, taking down
Salazzle and Beedrill.
Yeah, the two big offensive threats. So kudos to Sparky, always delivering. And next is versus Appletun Allegiance. And speaking of Sparky, there's Sparky with the kill once again.
On Talonflame too, I believe, because I mean, Talonflame is fire flying. Luxray has both Ice Fang and Thunder Fang, which are super effective against flying. I don't think Ice would have been super effective though, but Thunder Fang for sure would have been super effective. And with Guts and with Stab, that just kind of compounds it. I believe that's how it got taken out. But yeah, Megalopony happened.
Yeah, Megalopony has a little fun way of tearing through teams. So, I think the problem was that once Luxray went down, you didn't really have something that had high defense, and Megalopony was able to plow through because of that. So,
I do also believe that this was week 9, and week 9 was when I started putting in Pokemon that I hadn't used that much, so that would be Absol and Roserade. Because I hadn't used Roserade at all, and I kind of wanted to use it at some point. This probably wouldn't have been the battle to do it, but at that point I was more for going to have as much fun as possible, instead of going for, can I, like, absolutely crush Colin's hopes and dreams.
Well, despite the shift in perspective, next battle versus Dutch Inkays, you actually did really well. You almost won this one.
I was actually really surprised about this one too, because I did the exact same thing. I put Tyranitar in, I put Ninetales in, and I put Lapras in. And I guess trading for Lapras worked because it got a KO.
It almost got 2.
It did. The funny thing with Victini is that V-Create kind of killed my team really quickly, really ruthlessly. But, I mean, Sparky has its way of happening, because, I mean, Victini and Sparky were even, except for the fact that Sparky ended up fainting, and Victini didn't, because, wow, that Pokemon is strong. But yeah, overall, I was really, really happy with how this match went, because, I mean, it was a -1 differential, and I was expecting to get blown out.
Yeah, especially versus such a strong player.
Exactly. I was really, I mean, I knew that Quest's team was going to be incredibly strong because of how well he's done throughout the draft league, and for it to be this close, because I remember Colin wanted me to either win or lose as closely as possible, or like get like a -1 differential if I lost. And so, I mean, I kind of did what he wanted me to do.
Yeah, he ended up getting that second seed, which he was really looking for, because then he didn't have to play in the quarters. So yeah, really good performance in this one. And so then moving forward, we see the Pokemon sorted by the KD and respectively, differential respectively. Luxray with a whopping 12 kills. That's a lot.
I mean, you look at the usage percentages and you see Staraptor and Luxray. I mean, Staraptor had the second most KOs at 4, but I mean, that -5 differential, honestly, it didn't put me off to it because I used Staraptor rather recklessly. Pun intended with its ability.
Oh yeah, reckless.
But I was really happy with how all the Pokemon did. I mean, you remember a whole lot of KOs to go around, but especially with Luxray doing what it did, how it was built, I more or less started to build around it, where it would be like my anchor. It was my rock at one point, and part of the reason why a lot of matches were close or not shutouts. So, I mean, even with like Mega Tyranitar having 3 KOs, and it's a -2 differential, but honestly, it was pretty good how I learned and adapted and started using Pokemon again. Yeah.
So in terms of your favorite Pokemon to use, I'm gonna guess it was Luxray.
Of course.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, you have really high usage for Luxray, Staraptor, and if you combine Gardevoir and Mega Gardevoir, that's also 100%, so Gardevoir as well, which makes sense considering those were the 3 you mentioned in the initial draft that you went for. Was there a Pokemon that you felt you weren't able to use that well?
I definitely feel like I could have used Latias a lot better, just because I remember I used to use cheats a lot on my emulator because I used to play Emerald in an emulator a lot. I still do now, but I would always use cheats, and I'd always cheat in all of the legendaries, but I'd always stick to Latias and Latios all the time. Not any of the big 3, so I would never use Groudon, Kyogre, or Rayquaza. I would always use Latias and Latios. And I can't remember why, but I always remembered that I was more balanced with them, and they were really, really, really good for me to use. And I just could have capitalized, I think, a bit better.
I think the problem with Latias was there's a few times where it just got knocked out in one hit before it could do things. Like versus Mega Beedrill, for example, the strong bug move. But yeah, Latias is a really good Pokemon, so if you manage to get it again, if you decide to join another draft league, I think there's a lot of tools to play with in Latias' toolkit. In terms of Pokemon, yeah, I would definitely say Luxray. Like, I came to associate Sparky with your team. Like, when I thought of Bayside Divers, Sparky was like front and center, and I actually voted for Sparky as MVP in the last week.
I know, I saw that. Thank you so much.
I was hoping Sparky would get it. Not that Decidueye didn't deserve it. Decidueye did really well too, but I think Sparky week after week proved to be just such a good Pokemon for you. So yeah, I think overall a really interesting team and journey through the league. Definitely saw some growth, and I wanted to ask a few final questions. The first one being, how has your perspective, if it has, changed through this draft league?
I'm definitely going to start giving the newer generation some love wherever possible, because the introduction of the fairy type, which I stopped before that, and then I picked back up with Gen 8, but I stopped right before the fairy type was introduced, and I gotta say, I gotta give love to it. I really do, because that was part of why Latias never really got to blossom, I think, was because I had encountered fairy types, and I just completely forgot that, like, fairy types decimate dragon. And also Gardevoir, I think, really showed that fairy types aren't just frail special attackers, but they can actually do some serious work.
Oh, yeah.
And then I definitely got to love Natu a little bit more. Just because I didn't actually realize how useful Magic Bounce was until now. And good God, is it awesome.
Yeah, I love Magic Bounce. I mean, you're talking to someone who also has Magic Bounce in Mega Sableye, so... Even though I didn't really use it that much, but still. So, do you have any other thoughts about just the league in general, how it was run, maybe some of the other teams that interested you, or anything, just final thoughts?
Actually, I just remembered something. I believe it was against Colin's team, where he brought Voltorb. And I remember you were shocked about Voltorb being drafted because, like, Electrode?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another thing that kind of shocked me a bit. But about the league itself, yeah, I really liked how it was run. I would definitely join the next one. I'm gonna go ahead and assume there will be a next one. This one was pretty popular.
Yeah,
we've already got people that are spectating the league. But yeah, I definitely gonna look forward to seeing if there's gonna be another one of these.
Yeah, I plan to start up season 2 of the Victory Road Draft League maybe a month or two after this one ends, just so that I have a little bit of a break time. Running the league is a lot of work, but
yeah, I could tell.
It's very fun, and I've had a blast, and I really like seeing how much people have had fun with this and how much people have grown, just both in their approach, obviously in Pokemon, but also in just their approach to like competition and sportsmanship and things like that. I think a lot of people have grown in both ways, so it's definitely been a really fun experience, and I'm really glad that you were able to join. And I think I'm not the only one who thinks this, but everybody really appreciates how much of a good sport you are, how your sportsmanship, your approach to things generally seems to be very positive, and I think you're willing to take a lot of learning opportunities and experiences, and so that's something that I think shined in this league, especially through the weeks. So I'm really happy that you were able to join, and I'm really looking forward to future ones where you'll be a part of it too.
Most definitely. Thanks for letting me join.
Yeah, of course. So this was Bayside Divers, Sir Roland, the Sparky coach. Thanks once again for joining me with the draft league, but also with this little team analysis discussion. It was very fun, and yeah, join in for some more team analysis videos coming in the future. I'll be uploading some of the other teams, and so look forward to that. I think this is my fifth video. I'm going to be doing one for all the teams, so that's 14 in total. So yeah, so that was Bayside Divers. Thank you again for joining me, and we're going to log off. So until next time, until next league.
Yep.
All right.
Good luck with the rest of the videos.
Thanks. It's going to be fun. I like having these discussions. So, all right, and we are going to end here. Tune in for some of the other videos.